Okay. Hey everyone, welcome to the Bui and Burns weekly podcast where we take 5 concepts or topics. We spend 5 minutes apiece discussing them, and we do it every Friday live. Now, that's the intention anyway, but I think we're going to need to call an audible here, right, Cassie?
That is absolutely correct. Jerry and I, we're doing this in our free time, right? He's a digital forensics expert. I am a technology attorney, and we work a full caseload plus some, I think. So there are days, when the things really just start spinning up and getting kind of crazy. So hello, whoever just joined us. Thank you for joining us. So we just want to be authentic about that. And we're a little bit late starting because we were talking about, I've kind of had a hair on fire day, and I know Jerry's had a lot going on as well. So we wanted to join, but we're not going to do like our full topics. We're going to record that later. And we just wanted to talk a little bit about the realities of being professionals like we are, that we do a lot. But sometimes, we also have to be realistic about what we can accomplish. And I didn't get to really prepare as well as I wanted to for today's session. So, Candy, yes, thank you. I'm so glad that you're here again, Candy, because I mean, you bring all the good content in the
She's
comments.
awesome.
So we have to meet. I don't think we've met, so we definitely have to meet in person. But Jerry, tell me, I mean, do you feel the same way? It can be hard because we're doing content creation on our own in our free time, and sometimes it can be hard to get the stuff out the door, even though you really want to.
Yeah, I'm sitting in the corner of a Starbucks right now while I'm on the road in Houston, Texas. I'm based out of Dallas, but there is still this sense of commitment to each other and the community. And with the speed that all the information is moving, there's so much to digest. And I think all of us are feeling a little bit overwhelmed with the information. We still want to try to talk it through and kind of give ourselves direction for the future because I think the community does depend on us as thought leaders in this regard. And so just kind of highlighting what's important and not, and perhaps we only talk about one topic today, Cassie, and give our take on ChatGPT and the GPT-4 release recently. It's certainly flooding all of our LinkedIn timelines if it wasn't before. And literally for the TikTok algorithm on my account, my For You page, it's all GPT for all of it, like every single post. So I posted a poll earlier today talking about should we wait for the hype to die down with GPT-4, or should we dive headlong, just straight into it and try to absorb as much as we can and give ourselves a competitive advantage? At least that's how some people construe it. What do you think?
I think that there's a lot of everyone it's that element of FOMO that I think has been part of our, DNA for the past, I think like 15 years, and it's gotten even heightened, I think, during COVID because people didn't do a lot of new things for a while. And I think there's an element of that, in the NFT space. And when these emerging tech opportunities fly out the door, you just want to learn it. You want to be the one who's no, at least that's me. So it's really hard to kind of pump the brakes and go, but wait, let me see and delve really into all of it. And of course, from a legal perspective, it's important to do that because you don't want to use client data if it's not adequately protected. Those are things you have to think about. You have to think about privileged content. So, but playing around with it is very, very, it's very tempting, of course. But there's just so many AI based tools out there. I see posts on LinkedIn that it's like, here's a list of 20. I think I sent you the post, like 20 AI tools. And I want to play with all of them. I don't have the time in the day to go find them. But it can be frustrating because there's so much rolling out on a continual basis, and it's just hard to focus on one or two things because we can't obviously do everything.
No, we can't. But I do want to maybe for our community, which is largely e-discovery, lit support, digital forensics community, what could be relevant, especially as we head into legal week next week in New York City. Like this time last year, I think we were talking more about metaverse. At least I was. That was
Hmm.
the hot topic at the time. And that's becoming less so these days, perhaps
Yeah.
displaced by GPT-4. But the thing that I wanted to really highlight is that OpenAI and Microsoft's relationship is really becoming obvious here with the release of GPT-4 and their Microsoft 365 Copilot. Now,
Hmm.
Copilot, that was a feature within their dev environment, so their .NET suite and their integrated development environment is allowing, just as recently as a couple of months ago, the developers the ability to leverage GPT-4 and its coding ability to assist with code, right? I think the traditional way of really getting your code right was to go on to Stack Overflow, the website, and look up
Hmm.
code. If you're a coder, you're very familiar with that site because there's a lot of great information. You kind of post your problem or your challenge with certain code and trying to get it solved. And if you can't figure out the logic on yourself, it's most likely there will be some form of a solution, but it does require hours and hours of research and investment to find the right solution for your specific problem statement. And so the Copilot helped developers as they were working within the Microsoft tool. They didn't need to leave and go on the internet and search for the right solution. It would be available right there through a ChatGPT interface. And that interface is coming to what used to be called Office 365, but now it's being delivered to Microsoft 365. So within Word, within Excel, within PowerPoint, those you'll have a chat GPT assistant building out those documents for you. And why is that relevant for our community? Because when we collect those documents, right, whether it's from a desktop or a laptop or from Microsoft 365 online using Purview itself, there's going to be hopefully some artifacts that'll help you distinguish between what the custodian wrote and what the chat GPT assistant wrote, right?
Right.
Which part of the document was composed or authored by a human, and which other parts were authored by the AI.
Right. And I also just want to say that I think that the concept of custodians is something we may need to revisit because I know I in my professional space use Teams as a collaboration space. So there could be five or six or more, different people authoring content within a single document. So, and you know this better than me, there's versioning history that will show you that tracks who added what content. So, I would imagine if that's being tracked via some sort of artifact that, maybe the prompt is being tracked if we're it, inserting a prompt, and what those edits were. So, and it's not. I would imagine it's not all substantive. I could see the benefit of using ChatGPT to help with formatting because there's a lot of reorganizing you do within Excel to make the data such that you can analyze and filter and it gives you accurate results, right? You normalize the entry points, you maybe split out if there are multiple points of data in one cell, you split it out so you can have, that kind of thing. So I think that kind of operational functionality where you could just say like, yo, chat GPT, clean this data up for me in this way, like that, like remove the semicolon from all of the last characters or something like that. Like that would be great. That would make my day, honestly. So
Yeah, for me too, because we sometimes write our expert reports on pleading paper, and that pleading paper is pretty intricate, with the line numbers on the far left side, and obviously the double spaces after periods. That's still a thing when we're writing an expert report or a legal type brief, right? And so it can go through and do those cleanups for you, but more specifically, you can feed ChatGPT a prior document and say, format this new document with that old formatting. and it will make it identical. It'll pull in all the headings and subheadings the right way. And by the way, if you wanted to summarize that into a PowerPoint presentation, you could do that too automatically. You can say, ChatGPT, take this Word document and create 10 slides summarizing this Word document for me. All of that cutting and pasting that used to be will be done automatically. Like you said, the
Man,
operational functionality will be handled by ChatGPT. And I think that level of formatting tedium is going to be taken out of the picture, and not necessarily like relevant for discovery purposes, but certainly if you tell ChatGPT to compose, 10 paragraphs for you, and maybe that's the starting point, or maybe you don't go through the trouble because you're lazy and you're trying to get something out the door quickly, just leaving it as is, and now you assume that what's written in there is the custodians because it's custodian influence. So how do you really quantify what AI wrote if it was actually influenced by the custodians themselves?
that's a good point. It's like how far are you going to pull that thread, to trace back the point of authorship or the origination of authorship. So, it'll be I'm sure you will be wanting. I think we lost Jerry for a little bit. So, I'll just keep talking for just a few more minutes. If he doesn't join, we'll wind down. But what I see again is a huge help, and this is my hope and dream. I think many of us who work in data, we often are challenged with making, again, the data clean. So it's not only just the formatting in an Excel, but it's normalizing the data. And we know what that output, we know what we want it to be. And my hope is that we'll be able to use tools like ChatGPT to do some of that. At the end of the day, there's always going to be the need for human QC. I know our friend Aaron has talked before about automation bias. Just because it's done via a point of automation, it doesn't mean it's correct. There's always value, of course, in humans QCing the work product, but that's really, again, my hope on some of the functionality. I know there's a lot of focus on things like they're going to write briefs, they're going to write all of our papers. Again, my hope is that it will make our lives easier, but making sure the data is current. Yeah, can. So just imagine this, if you will. Imagine that you could just ask ChatGPT, has all of my, review universe been run through a privileged STR? Or ChatGPT, can you make sure item level security has been set on all of these new fields or whatever? Like not even the data, but just the structure of the database itself, making sure it's current and up to date, because there's just so much, fine tooth management that we're having to do with these databases, again, because it's complicated data that we're getting. It's not, easy peasy, just email anymore. And I think that there's a lot of attention that some of us have to give to the administration of databases. So again, I really am hoping that that's the way. There's a lot of focus on AI, again, for authored content, for even in our space in e-discovery, relevancy, not relevancy. But I think that there's a huge opportunity to use tools just from an operational workflow administrative standpoint to run QCs and things like that on, you have a field with new data loaded and maybe this field wasn't, these scripts weren't populated. That seems to me something that could be done programmatically. Human doesn't have to always check that. So, but we're about 15 minutes in, and I do believe that Jerry is offline at the moment. So, with that, yeah, the set it and forget it. And I think, we're constantly having to roll to the next thing to do. And it's the maintenance and, keeping things up to date. It can be very difficult. So, I can see Jerry still trying to log back in. Having that attention to detail to always confirm, yes, all the DT search indices have been updated, all the scripts have been run, all of, if you have to create custom fields, all the custom fields have been updated, the all custodian field has been updated for all data. We know that that can sometimes be a blind spot for when you have rolling data, which is usually the case. Custom metadata that we may have to create for mobile data or collaboration data. I think those are all areas where ChatGPT could be particularly useful. So, Yeah, well, we will wind it down now. It looks like Jerry is still having problems logging in. Candy, thank you so much for logging in. And it looks like there's another LinkedIn user who's anonymous. So thank you for dialing in. We are going to cover the 5 topics we've talked about. And yes, I will be at Legal Week. So are you going to be there? Hopefully you are, and we can say hello. Jerry and I will be there, just not at the same time. I will be there Monday through Wednesday, and he will be there Wednesday through Friday. So if you're going to be at Legal Week, definitely give us a ping on LinkedIn and let's try and meet up and keep an eye out for the full episode that we'll end up recording for those 5 topics we talked about. We'll touch again on ChatGPT 4 plus SVB. Um, what were my Phygital Fashion, ambient AI, and finally, what was my other topic? Oh, the cryptocurrency queen, excuse me, cryptocurrency queen, a book I'm reading and I'm just nearly finished with, a true crime book. So anyway, we will let you go and look forward to seeing you around. And please give us a shout out if you're at Legal Week next week. Bye. Enjoy your weekend.